Hi everyone, I'm Ellie Eberts, and today I am going to be showing you how I make my Mew Mew accessories. Now, the Mew Mew designs are all very unique. Everyone looks different and like they're their own character. But there is one unifying element to all of these designs, and it is the Mew Mew Poofs. So today I'm going to be showing you how I make my arm poofs, my chokers, and my garters for all of my Mew Mew costumes. So, let's get started. Now, the Mew Mew Poofs are very simple to make. They are all long rectangles. So we're going to start by cutting our pieces. Now we are going to be cutting two 4.5 inch by 29 inch rectangles of our fashion layer. Right now I'm working on poofs for pudding, so this is a linen, but it can be whatever you choose. You're also going to cut two 4 inch by your arm size lining. So your arm size is exactly the size of your bicep where these arm poofs will be sitting. You're also going to be cutting one 4.5 inch by thigh size, which is where it will be sitting on your thigh of both your fashion and your lining layer. You're also going to be cutting one strip of each your lining and fashion layer that is 2 inches wide by the size of your neck. Now, I like to use my rotary cutter for these. This gives you extra straight lines, but you can also use your scissors. Now next, we are going to be cutting the fur trim. This is something unique to my Mew Poofs. A lot of people will use ruffles or lace, but I use fur. I think it looks really good and reminds me a lot of the manga. So we are going to cut a bunch of strips of fur. You're going to be cutting 4 strips that are 1.5 inches by your arm size, 2 strips that are 1 inch by your neck size, and 2 strips that are 1.5 inches by your thigh size. These measurements do include seam allowance, so don't worry about adding anything extra. If you have a razor blade available, I do suggest cutting the backing of your fur with a razor blade rather than using scissors. If you just cut right through the fur, you get a mess everywhere. All right, so next we are going to be adding clear elastic to the lining layer of our Mew Poofs. So this clear elastic is to both help the arm poofs stay up and to make them cinch onto your arm. This is added to the lining layer. Next, we are going to add 2 basting stitches to both sides of our fashion layer for our arm poofs. So these basting stitches are just very long stitches that we're going to be able to pull on one of the threads, which will then gather the poof for us. So once you have those stitches in place, go ahead and tug on the threads and you will get a nicely gathered arm poof. So you're going to be gathering both sides of these poofs. All right, once that's gathered, let's go ahead and add our fur. So we are going to be taking the pieces of fur that are the same size as our arm and attaching these to each side of our gathered fashion layer. Now, once these are attached, you can see it's kind of starting to look like a Mew Mew poof. Now we're going to attach our lining. You're going to want the elastic to be on the side that is touching your arm. So with your elastic side touching your gathered side, let's go ahead and stitch these together. So you might notice that the lining layer of the poof is a little bit smaller than the fashion layer. This is to help with that poof and make it kind of stick out from your arm. So just line up your seam allowances as best as possible. Now once you've stitched the lining layer completely onto your fashion layer, let's go ahead and turn this inside out. Now here you can see it is really starting to look like a poof. It still looks a little weird, but we're getting somewhere. Next, this is the most complicated stitch and it's completely optional. You could do this by hand if you want, but I make so many Mew Mew poofs that I found a way to do this by machine. I am stitching together the circular part of my Mew Mew poof. So right sides together of my fashion layer, I'm starting at one edge of the fur and stitching as far as I can before my machine simply will not stitch this anymore. Again, this is the most complicated stitch and it's completely optional. If you don't feel comfortable with this, do it by hand and it's gonna look just as good. All right, so now that that stitch is completed, we kind of turn our poofs out and you can see that stitch is completely invisible. You can't even see it's there, and this poof looks really, really cute. That's how we make the arm poofs. The choker and the garter are very, very simple. It is the exact same process, except there is no gathering involved. So simply stitch your fur onto both sides and then attach your lining and turn these pieces inside out. For the choker, I finish my edges by hand and then attach a hook and bar in the back. For my garter, I simply stitch this together with a machine and I don't really worry about that raw edge on the inside. I normally end up stitching my garter onto a pair of dance tights so it doesn't go anywhere. So you're never gonna see that raw edge, and unless I'm competing, I'm not really concerned about it. All right, now we get to deal with the fur. As you can tell, the fur is kind of a mess right now. It's tucked in our stitches, it's going everywhere. We are going to clean that up. I'm starting by using a fine-tooth comb and pulling the fur out of the stitches. This is such a long process. I'm sure there are better ways to stitch this fur so that I don't have to do as much of this plucking, but to be honest, I haven't found them yet, and this is the way I do it. So I am plucking all of this fur out. I alternate between my wide tooth comb and my thin tooth comb, and we are just pulling this out as much as possible so that you can see all of the fur. Now that our fur has been pulled out of our seams, it's now time to trim it. Yes, we are going to trim all of this gorgeous fur and make it super short. So I am simply trimming the fur with my scissors. I find that my bigger scissors work best for this. I've also tried it with my little snips, but the bigger scissors just cut off a bit more fur and it's easier to get a more uniform look. I'm sure you could also use a razor for this. A lot of fursuit makers will use razors to trim their fur. But honestly, I use my scissors. So here we are. Now that that has been trimmed, I stitched together my leg garter, and this is the final look. It looks really cute. I really love the fur. Now, like I said, I've made a billion of these poofs before, and I never get tired of making them. I think they are so, so, so cute. The fur really adds a nice touch and gives you that sort of animal vibe, which the Mew Mew costumes are going with, and it just looks really, really nice. If you want to see a written tutorial with exact measurements and some more photos of how I make these poofs, hop over to my Patreon. It should be there within a day or so. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and be sure to tag me in your Mew Mew costumes. I, first of all, would love to see. I just love seeing Mew Mew costumes, but I would also like to see if you used my tutorial. That would make me feel really, really good. So again, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you really enjoyed it and want to see more of my content, make sure that you hit the big red subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, keep sewing, stay positive, and have fun. I will see you guys later. Bye!